Hello, today is September 4th, 2020. It is 9 a.m. on the East Coast here of the United States. We're doing the Ask Me Anything for the Splinterlands team. We try to do an hour every week, sometimes with just me, sometimes with me and Matt, and then the community members that join us. And let's see. So we're gonna have some talks today about the roadmap, developments that we've released, plans that are coming. There have been some fairly strong opinions about this last one. So my request is that you guys are welcome to whatever opinion you want. You can share that opinion. I just hope that you guys end up doing so politely and recognizing that Matt and I, work very hard to do the absolute best that we can for this ecosystem. That includes, the people playing and earning, the people that just like to hold the cards and maybe rent them. That includes the game itself as a corporation, and as a business. So we really try to do everything we can to lift up this whole ecosystem. And so you guys are welcome to say and ask anything. I just request that you do so politely with some understanding that Matt and I really love this place and do the best that we can for it. Anything you'd like to add, Matt, before we just start taking some questions here?
Good. Let's jump right in.
All right. So I don't know when to start counting these, but the first one I see is from Michael B. Who bought all the deck or the dark energy crystals?
Yeah, in most cases recently, that's been us. So we have, with the ability to purchase cards on the market using credits, we're sort of, we need to buy up an equivalent amount of DEC that is being put back to facilitate those market credits purchases. So anytime with the recent drop in crypto prices, which is obviously not great, and hopefully will be short-lived, but there was an opportunity for us to make up some of those dark energy crystals at a cheaper price, and we will often take advantage of that.
So we bought a bunch. That's the first one. Next up, poll here to praise the new update. That is not quite a question. Question, do you plan to add game modes, like, for example, separate leagues where during season each player have to play 2 matches against each player in the same league, similar to soccer or football leagues, to choose the best player in that season? Such league could also have reduced randomness to have a little bit different play style where both skills and cards count to encourage players to buy more and better cards. I think it's better to add a few different leagues so player can choose what they like the most instead of to please everybody with one ranking. So my first answer to that is we do that some in the tournaments, less so in the regular ranked season. But I don't know, Matt, what's your response to that?
Yeah, I'd say we have 2 basic play styles in the game right now: tournaments and ranked season leagues. And as far as expanding that, we would always generally like to add more different ways to play and do different things. And I feel like I say this a lot, so I apologize if I'm a broken record, but it comes down to a matter of how much work is it, how much will it add to the game, and where does that fit in our overall priority list. So one thing, I will say to that is once the separate league leaderboards are out and we kind of have better defined leagues, which I'm sure we'll get into a lot in this call today, I think that may open it up, to make it easier to do different things within certain leagues and actually have those leagues make sense as far as players being of equal or similar collections and skill.
Okay. Cryptomancer's tossing out a softball, and he's asking me, what is my favorite card that's in the newest collection of dice here? And I think that my answer is going to be I like the summoners. I mean, the monsters are cool. Don't get me wrong. Some of the new abilities are cool. Don't get me wrong. But I think the the thing most likely to shake up the meta and shake up the way that people are playing this game, how they do it, is the creation of low mana cost summoners that instead of buffing the team with stat abilities, buff the team with abilities that they can use. So I think that was a great addition, and so it's not like one card in particular. I like the design of those. So Matt, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't asked Cryptomancer. I like Cthulhu, but I'm going to go with not a legendary one for my answer. So I'm going to say Marrow's Ghost, who is a kind of like boring, simple little card, but I think he's interesting in that he's like in general, very strong at a 3 mana card with the Void Armor ability and high armor. But then he really, again, if you have Shatter, it kind of just destroys him, and or Shatter and Piercing, together really just destroys him. So I like things that look really strong in certain cases, but then have a specific weakness that can maybe highlight another ability in the game. So that's going to be my answer for that one.
All right. So Matt Clark, the ultimate gentleman of the Splinterlands community, is asking. Maybe I skipped one of the. What will land be available for credits or only for dark energy crystals? And I think the answer to that is we are planning on selling it for both credits and for dark energy crystals, and it won't be exclusive one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. So land will be available for whatever type of currency you want to purchase it with is the answer there. So it'll be similar to Untamed Path. And the main reason there is we are using that as a method to raise funds to build the entire land items and spells expansion. So the benefit for buying with dark energy crystals is you will get it. You can potentially get it at a discount based on the market price, because we'll always value the dark energy crystals at 1,000 dark energy crystals to $1. So that's a way sort of, our existing players, they play the game, they earn dark energy crystals so they can sort of get land at a discount. But in general, a big goal for the land expansion is we're going to really try to promote that outside of the game as much as possible, and really try to bring in some new players, some new money, and have that hopefully be a big thing that helps really push things forward. So it will be available for both.
It's still pretty early in our discussion. Do we want to discuss the thing that we're talking about in terms of attracting new players, or should we pause on that until it's more formal? You know what I'm referencing?
Yeah, I think so. I don't like talking about potential deals unless they're like done deals.
All right. So I'll pause on that. We do have a nice pathway for new player acquisition that we're working on that I think is going well, and that hopefully in the not too distant future we'll have some news on. But as per Matt's thing, it's not entirely in the books. It's not written in stone. So I will give some foreshadowing that it's coming, but I won't be specific about it. And hopefully in just a week or two we'll have more info.
Well, yeah, I mean, as a high level thing, like we talk to lots of different projects in the cryptocurrency space. I mean, mainly in the cryptocurrency space, because that's like the easiest way for us to do player acquisition. So there's probably like 5 or 6 different groups that we're in various discussions and talks with, and we can do cross promotion, some type of advertising, affiliate deals, whatever it is. I mean, it's just like kind of a constant thing. I mean, we have one call later today. I mean, it's at least a few discussions a week to move things forward. I mean, some things in the past that have been good and are still ramping up. There's Wax, which has brought in a good number of people, and we're hoping to do a lot more with them. The Wombat wallet and the EOS integration, that hasn't even started on their end because they're waiting for a few updates on the mobile app specifically. So there's just a whole bunch of different groups that we're working with that have significant sized crypto and or gaming audiences, and that's a constant thing. We're just always looking out for new opportunities there.
Yeah. All right. So, how is the new player onboarding development progressing? There are some new screens that I've seen, and mostly it was kind of like we had the initial design, we got some progress in figuring out how it could actually be implemented well, and so it's kind of like the designer is trying to stay one chapter ahead of the book in order to go meet the needs of the developer. And so the first part was just kind of setting the stage and making sure that the designer's plan and the developer's tool set matched pretty well. And I think we're there. Matt can attest to that better than I can. But yeah, things are moving, and I still think of that as the highest kind of design priority in the business right now. Matt?
Yeah, we're designing and developing basically simultaneously, and Nate's trying to stay just like one step ahead of the developers. And then the design process is always a process, so there's some back and forth and revisions. But our hope is like in the month of October that the first version of that should be released. And we're just I don't know, working through everything to get there.
Yeah, I'm stoked for it. I think it'll help a lot of people, and especially as we work to move from getting everything built to really starting to focus on expansion. I think that thing will be critical. So I'm excited for that. Is there any plan to include SBT to the game? Yes, SBT kind of falls into that whole expansion world. So we're moving into that. We're not quite there, but that's kind of encapsulated in the as we grow. We think that's a part of it, and I eventually want to see some kind of SBT store that's built into the game, and items and digital goods sold for that. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the initial plan is we'll allow SPT to buy various likely cosmetic things in the game. So we have, Nate with some other freelance artists are working on cool new avatars, different skins, all that stuff. So there'll be opportunity for SPT to purchase some of that stuff as like the initial thing. Again, it's just a matter of priorities, and that's never been one of the higher ones. But it's something we keep in mind and do want to get to.
Question: when tournaments on mobile?
Good question. I don't have a timeline for that yet. We have limited design resources, and I think that's the main holdup there. So yeah, and the focus there has been on the new player experience, like we talked about, and then we're also going to have guild wars and land sales, which I think are probably going to be the higher priorities there. But it's something I'd like to see if we can do in parallel, and design and start working on it. I mean, that's going to be a pretty big project from both the design and the implementation standpoint. So I don't have a time frame on that.
Yeah, there are companies that have been promising tournaments for years and years and years, and they still haven't put them out. And our team got it done in pretty short order, and then revamped it to an anytime format in relatively short order. I know that we get some flack for the speed of our development, but at times, like, we're doing things on a blockchain which is harder, and we're still cranking stuff out. Not always on the timelines that we or players would like, but man, we really do crank stuff out. So it's on the list to get tournaments out there. Question: with land presale, how much % of the total land will be sold? So I think the details are still TBD. I would like to see. I think we're planning on more than one presale with a kind of like steadily increasing. I don't know how to say this. The discount will shrink with each passing of the presale. So that's kind of how I envision this. I don't know if I want to give a specific total right now, or maybe Matt, you're comfortable with the plan. Then
no, I mean, I would say the exact numbers. We're not going to say it until it's actually announced officially, because it may change. So we're playing around with lots of different numbers and how exactly the pre-sale will work. But agree with what aggroed said. It will probably be a staggered pre-sale, like, biggest bonus first, and then after that, there'll be another part of the pre-sale with a slightly decreased bonus, which is similar to how the Sandbox game, if you were following that, they did a land sale relatively recently and kind of had a tiered approach like that. And I think that worked well. And it sort of gives sort of the opportunity where it gives us more opportunity to get it out to more people because it kind of is over a longer time period. And then it gives our existing community the opportunity. You guys will have the best opportunity to get in at the first one with the highest discount because, you guys are here and keeping up on our announcements more so than people outside the game. So I think there's a lot of good stuff there to doing it a staggered approach.
Question: Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. That's a weird question, Quantum. I guess my answer is Battlestar Galactica. Is it Matt?
I never watched Battlestar Galactica, so I don't know how to answer that one.
I have mixed feelings about all TV series because I just don't like much media these days. But Battlestar Galactica was a neat show. I liked watching it. I liked watching it in 1.5 speed, just because it can be a pretty dramatic show. So there's lots of like long pregnant pauses, and I could get the show faster if I just watched it quicker. Wasn't quite as dramatic, but I enjoyed the story. Is there a launch date for Land yet? I'll let Matt answer.
No official launch date. Definitely, we want to do this before the end of the year. I'd like it to be, maybe November. Is my internal target, but we'll see.
So our boy Jace here is asking, is it possible to have some updates, i.e. fixes, before Phase 3 is released? Advancing to the next league is optional. No win streak, no minimum plus 10 points for a win above all league limits, and points are reset to the league limit after dropping to the lower league. Do you want to talk about, maybe we can open that up a bit more to what's your current plan for Phase 3 and what we're thinking for that?
I just want to real quick to the previous question about land launch date. I just want to clarify that's launch date for the pre-sale only, not the actual use of the land and the expansion. So just pre-sale. I'm hoping November, but by end of the year. So Jace's question. So in Phase 3 with the league leaderboards, we're planning to do, I believe, all the things that he's asking about. Or if we weren't, then we would after seeing what was happening, since the release earlier this week. So the idea is that, if you are advancing in your rating and you have a lot of collection power to where you might go to, say, silver to gold league, you will have the option, if you want to advance to silver to gold league. You may choose not to advance to gold league because you want to compete in that season for the silver league leaderboard. So in that case, you would just choose, not to advance to gold league. You would remain in silver league for the remainder of that season. And then you could compete for the leaderboard there. So the way that would work is your rating would, continue to increase, and regardless of your collection power, you wouldn't move up to the next league because you've chosen that. And then the leaderboard standings will be all the people in Silver League just ranked by their rating. So it'll and then to the second point, in order to make it actually a skill-based competition there to get the highest rating and not just about who plays the most battles. Just like it currently is in Champion 1 League, there will be, you won't get to sort of the minimum 10-point rating increase for wins if you're above the max for that league. So with the Silver League example, if you are above 1900 rating and you choose to stay in the Silver League, then you'll be competing without win streak bonuses and everything to see basically who can have the highest win rate in that league to get the leaderboard prizes. And then as far as points reset after dropping to a league, that's something we'll have to look at to see what the avenues of abuse are. But definitely if that would happen, if that leads to people being able to exploit the system. And then to Jace's actual question, are we going to release some of those before Phase 3 is released? The first thing I'll say is I'm pushing Cryptomancer to really try to get Phase 3 released at the end of this current season, which is roughly 10 days. So, if that's the case, I'm not sure if we'll release other changes before then or not. And this will be just kind of one wonky transition season in between. If it's going to be beyond that, then I would say we'll definitely release, partial changes before that, just to make sure these particular issues get addressed before Phase 3 is out. So that's what my thinking is right now on that.
With Collection Power Phase 3 coming soon, can you talk about your strategy for determining what prizes will be for the different leaderboards? And will it still be the top 50 in each, or could that number vary? My one thought on that, and I'll let Matt answer because I think he's mostly the king of the rewards and how that rolls out. My one thought is I just want a little bit of data first. So I know everybody wants to see like a major overhaul of everything that we do, and tweak all the rewards again, and you hope that you get the most out of that tweak. But my general thought is I want to put in a change and then give it a little bit of time to collect some data, see where the numbers lie, and then make more choices. So in my brain, like rewards tweaks come not immediately after development changes or power changes, but a couple weeks after when we've had a little bit of time to evaluate how did it go. Matt?
In this case, though, we're going to have the leaderboard prizes out, at least the first shot at them, when Phase 3 is released, which again I'm hoping will be at the start of the next ranked play season. So, I have been working on what the prizes should be. So I'll start with it will be unlikely to be the top 50 in each league. I think it will start with fewer prize spots in the lower league and increase as we go up. But again, these are all open to change or subject to change either before or after the release. It's always the case, like aggroed said, we're gonna see how things go, see how it works out, see what people like or don't like, and then we'll adjust. My thinking is that the rewards will be packed, but it may be the case where, like in lower leagues, we want to have more reward prizes and we can't give out as much as a pack as the prize, which is worth $2 at least to us in the store, in the shop. So we may give out some dark energy crystals. We may give out possible that we could give out credits, and it's possible that we could even give out other types of prizes. It could be loot boxes, loot chests, like you get for quests and season rewards, and possibly other things. Maybe there's special skins in the future, or cars that top leaderboard players get as a prize. So initially, I think it will be less than top 50 for the lower leagues, other than champion, and the prizes will mostly be packed, and then we'll kind of see how that works and adjust going forward.
All right. For Freedom says, I got a Brave ad for Splinterlands. When did this start? So this is actually our second campaign for Brave. We did one a while back that was a month long. It was a successful campaign. We spent $2,000 and we made $4,000. But the distribution of that wasn't completely even. It wasn't spread out between lots of players. It was sort of between, we got a handful of new players and there was one or two big spenders that joined. So we're running the experiment again with them to see, is that a one-time fluke? Is this something that we can keep repeating? And if it is, then that's something that it started only a couple days ago. It should be running for the month of September. And if that goes well, then we look forward to ramping that up. Anything else to add, Matt?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. We have one successful campaign in the past, and we're trying it again to see if that's repeatable.
When is the release of an actual phone app scheduled? What Ubisoft has been bringing you since the deal was announced? So you want to talk about the phone app stuff?
Yeah, we are planning to submit the phone app, the native app, to the Android App Store in September. That doesn't necessarily mean it will be approved and available to everyone in September. I hope that it will, but we're going to submit it then. I mean, we do have a number of changes that we're working on, from building the in-app purchases to, going through their, terms for apps, and, making sure we're not doing, removing any like crypto stuff or ways that like you can take money out and things like all that stuff has to not be available in the app to give us the best chance of being approved. So submit to the Android store in September, get approved hopefully as soon as possible, and then we're targeting October for iOS, which has even more kind of hoops we have to jump through there.
And then what has Ubisoft been bringing you since the deal was announced? The Ubisoft has been pretty slow this past month. The one of the leads on the project actually quit Ubisoft because he wanted to pursue an acting and theater career. So that this past month has not been, and it's also like August in France, which everybody takes vacation for. So August was basically not a productive month. But generally speaking, as I talk to all these different programs, one of the things that I think it brings them more than anything is just validity to what we're doing. Like to go tell some of the partners that we're pursuing that we're part of a Ubisoft Accelerator program has been actually fairly meaningful. It's not the kind of thing that like they say, oh, we chose to do this because you said that. It's more like just one of those touch points of like, okay, this seems legit. Ubisoft is kind of involved, or they gave it a green check, so maybe it's not that bad. There's a lot of scammy crap out in crypto, and people should be looking at things fairly skeptically. I think this is one of the things that just kind of removes the skepticism. So hopefully there'll be more things that are more solid than that. But to date, I'd say more than anything, what we've gotten out of it is some validity. Question, when do we get...
Well, to Rondon's question, we're trying to get new players into the game. We're not trying to scare them away.
You're such a jerk, clown. All right. All right, let's see. Bellamo, is there any plan on making something like animations movies of Splinterlands plots? I think things like that will be good for marketing and also make players connect with monsters' characters more. Does energy capture rate at the time of claiming rewards affect the quantity of rewards you get from your daily and season rewards? I've always wanted to go do more movie kind of stuff and more plots. There's not like a ton of extra budget for that right now. But if we, because like if you go and you look at like Power Rangers, anything else, Pokemon, what's really happening is that the TV shows probably are loss leaders for all the goods that they're selling. So you use the entertainment side, which is basically a cost to the company to build up an audience, and then you use things like the collectible side or the toys side or the game side is the actual revenue generation built on the audience that you built from the series. So yeah, I have maybe if there's some low cost ways, or if there's people that want to go do some animated stuff, we can do that. But it's not in the budget right now. But I would like to see more of that. And then for the energy capture rate, I'm pretty certain that's a strong no. But
yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Energy capture rate doesn't factor into daily or season rewards at all.
Okay. Some people worry dice will be sold too quickly and they will miss out. Some people worry that dice are selling too slowly because it indicates low demand. How long were you expecting dice to last, and what's the ideal pace that they are sold? Am I supposed to call him Jacek? Is it Jacek W? I just read it as Jason in my head. Maybe I'm a jerk. Okay, so for dice, I don't know. I'm actually pretty stoked about how well dice have gone. I was checking the number of how many dice were sold. I think it's over 30,000. which means that at like full retail, we've sold like 34,000. So that it's I don't know. My back of the envelope math says that we've sold roughly, or we've burned 100 million dice, or 100
Easy.
million dark energy crystals because of that. There's only like 500 million dark energy crystals in existence. I forget the exact total that we have, but it's like north of 150 million. So now there's only like, what is that, 350 million left for the rest of the community, and some of that is in a player's hands that doesn't seem inclined to spend on dice, and that's another big chunk. So there's really only like, I don't know, 200 to 300 million total dice that are in player, or 200 to 300 million dark energy crystals that are in players' hands. So what we sold, I think it actually amounts to like a massive amount having been converted to dice. And we knew when we did this that there's literally no way for the players to purchase all the dice, because even if the game spent all of our dark energy crystals, there's not enough dark energy crystals in existence to cover the cost of all the dice. So we wanted this as a giant dark energy sink, and I think it's working beautifully in that regard. I mean, like, I don't know, my back of the envelope says something like a third of all free dark energy crystals got burned in like the last week, and that to me is astounding. Matt, what is that your take? Are you happy with this? Think it went poorly? Where do you fall?
Yeah, this is a pretty ideal pace, actually. If if they were selling way too quickly, I mean, I just feel like that I would have been very surprised if they sold more quickly than they were now, which is why I wasn't too worried about people's concerns that like the first 50,000 would be gone in like an hour or whatever. I mean, I know it's like exciting and fun, to have projects where like they say things sold out in X small amount of time. I mean, that also kind of sucks for people who didn't get involved in it, and that's not what we were going for here. I mean, we're going for, the replacement for Essence Orbs, which should have a big, strong showing when we initially release it to, get some of those extra dark energy crystals out of the system, which it did. And then, we expect those to kind of go slowly over the next year or so, which was roughly the timeline that we're hoping for the entire set to sell out. I mean, so I think it pretty much worked out very well towards that exact goal. And, if people worry about there's low demand, I mean, obviously it's our goal always to get in new players and to increase demand for all of the products. But I don't think the showing from DICE is worrisome. I think it's, exactly where I would have hoped it should be, maybe even a little better than I would have hoped it should be, based on the current demand we have in the game. And it's always our goal to improve demand for everything. So I'm pretty happy with that.
I'm thrilled. All right, question. Are there any projects supporting new players, helping noobs once they are onboarded to make sure they stay or get help? I think the community does the best job of that than anything. I haven't, I'm very early in this, but just recently I gave a talk at the Run 2020, or I didn't give a talk. I was part of like just a panel discussion, and it was all done in this like online virtual conference room environment. And that when I was first there, I was like, yeah, this is kind of weird and dumb. But by like 10 minutes in, I'm like, this thing is actually pretty fun. It's funny. Like, I like interacting this way, and it combined voice and video. And so part of me is trying to think through, are there ways that we could build a like Splinterlands convention hall in a digital space, and rather than just say, go watch these tutorial videos on a flat YouTube, maybe there's like a space you can walk around and go check out the various videos. So I have a discussion with a guy that runs that project later, and I'm going to go get a sense of what does it cost, and are there better ways to go do player onboarding that are like way more interactive than just watch this YouTube video. But I don't know. But ultimately, right now, I think that the single best thing that helps new players are, positive people that are out there interacting, the Cloves of the world, the Matt Clarks of the world, the Foggy Bottoms, the folks that are kind, good spirited, and work to make sure that those players feel welcome in our community. Matt?
Well, and then, the tutorials and stuff that we're talking about is obviously huge to just helping them through the game. So our overall plan is that it's not just like you join and then there's one tutorial that shows you how to play. I mean, that'll be the initial part, but then it would also be throughout the game experience as, you kind of unlock or do new things, like new mini tutorials will pop up. Like, maybe you first go to the market and it gives you a quick few step overview of what's going on there, and also points you to where to find more information and things like that. So it's just an overall helping hand to guide people through all the different parts of Splinterlands.
All right. So, question for the land expansion: you previously mentioned a sector will be 1,000 lots. Will owning an entire continuous sector convey any special benefits, properties, bonuses, etc.? What I'm getting at is whether or not sectors will have their own function within the game, or if sector is simply an organizational term for describing units of land. My first pass at this is that initially it won't really matter, but at some point I would like to see a lot more, and the initial rollout, I don't think there's going to be anything related to transportation in the game, but over time I hope that transportation will actually be a real part, and that's part of your resource management of how you interact with the game, potentially a revenue source for players too, from other players that are looking to transport goods. So there's kind of some funky things that we can do in there, and I imagine that over time, proximity of land and how well you've organized your buildings, and the improvements you've made and what land you own and where they're all at, I think will matter. I just don't think it'll be in the initial rollout. Thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. It's not it's likely not a V1 benefit, but will be in the future. And there may also be other things other than proximity advantages. But there may also be governance structures in different areas of the world. So I would imagine, again, in a later phase of this, but all the plot owners in certain sectors and areas can, maybe vote on, there could be taxes or different things that go into supporting some type of infrastructure on the land or whatever it is, different things that people, so sort of like the U.S. model of states and then an overall government type of thing. Although I generally don't want to equate anything to what the U.S. does. But that type of model of individual areas coming up with their own governance for certain things. So that may be in there too. For initially, the main benefit for getting a sector would be the
massive discount.
Yeah, massive discount is what I was trying to say.
Yeah. All right, next up, why to have the improved sharing battle link only in game chat on web mobile version? Let's set the same to the social media external sharing link, because it seems like he likes that second version of the game battle more than he likes the default Splinterlands logo image.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea and something that we should look into doing.
Yeah, thanks, Sheena. That's good. Have additional non-transferable rewards been considered for lower levels? They're certainly considered all the time. Trick is what do we put together to put that out there? Your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, we like to keep everything as transferable as possible. So we considered a lot more cosmetic rewards. We have also considered
adding
in the idea of some soul-bound cards or things like that, so you could earn cards and either increase your collection power, just your ability to use more cards in battles, but not have an overall effect on the market. There's a lot that goes into adding that, and balancing things properly, and then if they're only available at lower levels, are higher ranked players able to get them, and I don't know. So there's a lot of considerations there. So I would say it's something we consider a lot. I don't have anything more to say as far as details or if that will actually happen.
Do we have people on the ground at Station F? No, we don't. We don't have people in Ubisoft in France, mostly because of COVID, and probably won't. This has been a weird. This is not a normal cohort for them, because normally the people are at Station F, which is like the building or complex that's out there, and they're there for like the entire 6 to 9 months. So this has been a weird cohort because of COVID, and then they've had executive problems. A bunch of Ubisoft executives are under heat. They've had a long summer vacation, and they have like Yellow Vest protests happening over there, and they have COVID. So I would go so far as to say this is a pretty abnormal cohort, but I don't know. I'm happy. Happy with what we have. It could have been better or cooler, but so on. Rondon, your question was answered. It's JASIC. Okay. Is it JASIC or YASIC? I guess it's YASIC. Anyways, I mean no disrespect. YASIC is amazing, and I see him as Jace. Sorry, Jace, but YASIC, you're awesome, and I'm glad you're part of this community. Are dice going into circulation as a 1% loot chest reward? Question from Neil McSpadden.
Probably, but I was just holding off on doing that. I just wanted to hold off while we're doing the whole collection power thing, and rewards are very, up in the air for the moment. So I didn't want to make any changes to them at the current time. So we're gonna get phase 3 out. We're gonna see how that goes for a little bit. As kind of mentioned in the most recent posts. And then we're gonna kind of review all the rewards once we see how everything's working. I don't want to just go now and start changing the rewards and then find out, in a season or two that doesn't work for some reason, then have to go back and change it again. So yes, probably, but we're waiting till everything settles down a little bit before changing rewards.
And honestly, it's some of this like we're still tweaking some real basics of the game. Like, what is the reward structure? How does this work? Can the one question is, can the player base expand? And other questions are like, can the reward system expand if we have 10 billion people here? And all of these are questions that we're trying to answer prior to expanding, so that we're not going through cycles of disgruntled players as we grow. So we're really trying to plan this out the best that we can into the future, considering what's going to happen if we do get this nice player acquisition funnel moving. What will that look like? How will that look? How do we do that sustainably? And so we're not just looking at what is the perfect setup for our current existing player base, but really how do we build this to be sustainable? And I don't think we're quite there, but that's the kind of stuff that we're addressing now, and trying to work through, some player frustration about it, some longevity about it, some, the guys that already hold the cards and have some strong feelings about that. There's a lot of different stakeholders and things to consider as we do this, and it's not fun to kind of change it. Nobody seems to dig it that much, but we're trying to get this so that the game is capable of growing and not imploding. Okay, question. Eventually Untamed packs will run out. They're about halfway gone already. Can you share juicy info or teasers about what will come after Untamed? Congratulations, guys. We're like halfway through. Did we actually hit the halfway point? We are over halfway. We're 1,200 packs over halfway. So everybody panic, everybody FOMO. There's not enough for everybody, and you're never going to get enough cards. So that's, we're now moving into the second stretch. The middle is in our experience like the absolute slowest part of this, and it's the like front end when we release a set and the back end when they're running out that the pace really starts picking up. So we're out of the doldrums and moving into what I think will be kind of a little bit of FOMO land as people realize that these things are not going to last forever. So next up, sorry, I got all these messages coming through. Next up, we're going to have the Chaos Legion, and I think it is a stellar upgrade to the aesthetics of the cards. These things just look gorgeous. They're fun. Maybe Matt can share one or two, or somebody from the team can share one or two. I don't want to go into my personal Discord because it's getting recorded, but that would be swell. So I'm stoked. Like all the other editions, we'll have kind of a layout of the number of characters, different rarities, different teams, legendaries. I don't know if we're going to do another Kickstarter that's possible so that we can get people to get drawn into the game. We like that you guys are part of the community, gets to be part of this. But we often launch new abilities and new combinations. And I just want to keep sharing that when we build new monsters and summoners, we're working off of a spreadsheet and a point system. And when we go into new additions, we don't change it. We don't give them way more points or something. We don't want excessive power creep. I'm sure that we could make more money by doing that, but it kills the value of all the older cards, and that's not fair to anybody, and it's not what we're trying to do. So those are some of my thoughts for the next edition. Matt, anything you want to talk about for Chaos Legion?
One thing is, I would say, depending upon the timing of it, it may be about the time where it makes sense for us to have different formats for ranked play, which is something we've always mentioned that that pretty much any card game needs to have as new sets are released over time. There will have to be some type of modern format that only allows the newer sets. So, I just want to reiterate that that will happen sometime in the future. I don't think it's the very near future, but it will be happening sometime, in the Chaos Legion release may be the point where we get to that. So that would be something like there would be a modern format ranked season where maybe it's only Untamed and Chaos Legion cards, and then reward cards from that have the Untamed look to them, and afterwards that would be allowed, and then a wild format or whatever it will be called, where all the cards are allowed. So that's something to keep in mind, and that would also our goal before we get to that point is to have a significant increase in new players, and it's it just doesn't work for new players if they're also required to get all the older cards to be competitive. We currently have that set up in tournaments right now, but at some point that'll also be the case for ranked play. So just want to make sure everyone knows that and understands that that's something that will be happening at some point in the future, and it should be pretty it should work the same as Hearthstone or Magic or any of these games. So it shouldn't be something crazy new or unusual.
Neil, sorry I didn't mention you. You do definitely make the good spirited list. You're an amazing member of this community. Let's see, aggroed, what are your plans and thoughts for those NFT showroom prints? So to date, I've made 200 prints of 2 cards. I released Yoden Zaku and I released Contessa Lament, and I've had fun. I like doing these giveaways. If we give away packs, that dilutes the value of everybody that owns packs. So having something that's promotional that doesn't impact the value of the cards that you have, I actually think is pretty incredible. And in the game, we don't want to have giant mega files. So doing animated GIFs and things starts getting a little nerve-wracking. There are probably some ways to go do that with vector art that don't take up a lot of space. But the files that I'm sharing over there are 3 meg, which would never work on mobile and never work in the game. So it gives us some creative freedom with how we want to explore the characters and what they might look like, and give them some motion and life without diluting anybody. And So I sell a little bit to make sure that the cost of minting is covered for the business, and it makes a small amount of profit. But really, the rest of it is just given away in like tweets and contests, and I don't know. I think it's a nice way to just give out a promotional thing that hopefully has some value without diluting everybody. Matt, have you seen any of those? Do you have any thoughts on them?
Seen them. I didn't know they were available yet, but I know you were planning on doing them. I think it's a fun, cool thing. I mean, you can get posters, art prints for other games. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a neat way to showcase our art in a higher quality format than is available in the actual game, and fun way to explore art NFTs on blockchain.
All right, I'm sending you a Yoden Zaku when this thing's over, and that way you can
Sweet.
see what that looks like.
I'm gonna auction it for $1 million.
Let's see. Any more splinterns coming? I loved working with the splinterns. I really like college kids, and that was a fun group. I haven't had a second to go back and get new applications up, and I might go back and talk to. It was the Blockchain Founders Fund that we work with that originally set this up, and I know they have like an absurd number of internship requests all the time. So maybe I'll go back to them. But I don't know if you guys have checked out splintx.com, but that's a nice new interface. The game has a nice one. Peak Monsters has one. Monster Market has one. And now there's another one for SplintX. And this thing was made by a bunch of college kids over like 4 months. So I don't know. Check it out. It's pretty neat. Can you hide enemy name and stop botnet self-push and just leave them spam games with minor right rewards and maybe stop cheating previewing enemy formations? I think this is most mandatory than all this new feature. Matt, do you want to take a shot at that?
Well, I mean, so if there's a setting to what's it called here? To wait to reveal your team until your opponent has submitted theirs. So you can. That's not enabled for lower level league play to just reduce the volume of blockchain transactions. So if you enable that setting, then it will not be possible to preview to see your team formation before they've submitted their team. So that should, unless I'm misunderstanding the question, handle that part of it. As far as stopping bots, I mean, I guess a lot of the collection power change was not specifically targeted at bots, but it's just targeted at, not allowing, oversized rewards to be given out for collections with like no cards or very low level cards, which is what a lot of the botnets were specifically taking advantage of. So, having a number of bots playing the game isn't itself an issue or a problem, as long as their rewards are in line with what they should be, and with what regular players can earn. So from that perspective, I think that the changes we've been recently released are specifically targeted at that. So, that's pretty much exactly our priority of what we're working on. And then as far as previewing teams, there's a setting for that.
Okay, we have 2 more minutes left, and I have a meeting right after this, so I definitely have to go. Okay, will spells and items have rarities to them like cards, so better ones worth more to craft? That is the plan to do that. Anything to add other than yes, we'll give them rarities?
Yeah, they'll be, I mean, pretty much the same as the existing monster and summoner cards. So, common, rare, epic, legendary. You'll need to combine with similar combine rates to get them to higher levels. And the main difference is that they won't be purchased in packs. They will be crafted from the resources and land from the expansion.
All right. Well, look, there's a lot of phenomenal players that are part of this community. Lots of very helpful people. The devs on this team are really hardworking, brilliant people. Our lead designer, Nate, is just gifted. The content that's constantly being put out there into the world is fantastic, and that's Chris and Carrie. We have a lot of great community leaders in here that are helping to build this place. So we have a ton to be thankful for. We're getting pretty close to really starting to push for new player acquisition. That's in the cards. Get it? It's in the cards. So, anyways, I'm happy, and I'm grateful to this community. Grateful to my partner Matt, who is freaking brilliant, and a warm amount of love and thanks, and really looking forward to kind of this last 4 months of the year and looking into 2021. I think it should be amazing. So start saving dark energy crystals if you can even get them. Matt?
One day, you're going to look back and say, oh, remember the time when, the season leaderboards were being put in and, things were kind of crazy and all that stuff. And you'll laugh about it when, there's tons of new players who have no idea about any of all that stuff that went into, making the game big and work out well for them and scale to that level. So that's what I like to keep in mind as we're going through this stuff.
Alrighty. Well, thanks everybody. I got to hop off and I got to get to that call, but you're swell. We'll be here next week. We're doing a later one next week, right? Like maybe.
Yeah. Should we do like 9 p.m.
Sure.
Eastern?
Yeah. Let's do 9 p.m. on Friday night, and that way we can get people from all over the world and maybe hear some voices that you haven't heard before. So, anyways, thanks for being here. We'll talk to you guys soon, and have a great day, guys. Bye.